Is a $30,000 used Bentley a blessing? I really don't think so, but we'll talk more about that throughout this video. But the car I'm talking about is going to be the Bentley Continental GT Coupe from 2003 to 2018. The coupes, they ceased production in 2017, and then 2018 they still built the Continental GT convertible version. But I really don't suggest anybody buying the convertible because I really don't see the need in adding any more complexity to this car. But do I like this vehicle? Absolutely. This is a stunning looking machine. I love the design of it. The exterior is so clean and timeless. Comment below, let me know your thoughts about the look of this Bentley coupe. In fact, back when the Wraith came out, I really liked that car, but as I grew older and I look more into these Bentley products, I just love the timeless nature of this design. And then fast forward, and then you have the 2020 models and up, that redesigned, that looks incredible, but the interior of the latest new Continental is just phenomenal. Their stitch work, the way they do their quilting on the leather. I honestly like the new Bentley interiors more than the Rolls-Royce interiors. But when you look at the Bentley interiors, not only do these cars cost less than the new Rolls, but there's a lot more intricate diamond stitching and quilting going on. The tech is elegantly laid out, and that's the new vehicle. But coming back to this 03 to 2018 generation, the interior is still very nice. Of course, you still have plenty of real wood and leather just slathered everywhere. And I have personally test driven a 08 Bentley Continental. It was a fine car, but I think it's time that we go ahead and we cover the common issues associated with this car, along with some good resources that you can use when you do your research. Okay, there are other Bentley Continental buyer's guide videos out there, so I'll just quickly summarize what they have to say in regard to the Continental GT. First of all, avoiding the convertible is a good start because that mechanism, when it goes bad, when it fails, or when there's rips or tears in that convertible top, it can cost a fortune to replace, like over $12,000, I believe. So let's just avoid that, stick to the coupe. And also, I just really like the design of the coupe anyway. But as I go through these issues, what you have to register in your mind is there's just too many issues to count. And the best thing for most people to do is to just avoid this car completely, because the type of person who is looking into a $30,000 or a $40,000 Continental is most likely someone who's just scrapping together their resources to just make this happen for vanity purposes or for flexing. And I'll tell you this, that's not a very wise idea. I'll give you some better alternatives towards the end of this video. But back to the common issues. Clogged, scuttled drain holes under the HVAC unit causes water leaks and moisture to occur in the interior. So anytime you are shopping for, well, you shouldn't be shopping for it, but let's just say you were, the 03 to 05 vehicles, just check under the carpets of the footwells to see if there's any dampness there. And if you do notice that this area is wet, just run away from the car. In fact, 03 to 05, those are the worst model years for the Continental GT. This was a known issue, and in 06, they redesigned the HVAC drainage system. So water is not supposed to be leaking into the interior space and just ruining the electronics. So right there, we just eliminated the convertible version and the 03 to 05 versions. You also have your classic air suspension issues, control arms, bushings, things of that nature. And this is an issue with every flagship luxury car, from the Lexus LS to the Mercedes S-Class. I mean, all of these big, heavy luxury cars suffer from suspension problems, and it costs an absolute fortune, along with brakes, pads and rotors wearing out prematurely because, again, you're stopping a big, heavy car. And you got a million different electronic components, which honestly we see in every new modern day car as well. But you know, you got your electronic seats, you got your electric boot mechanism and various actuators, and also the speakers slash amplifier can fail with these vehicles, just so you know, and that's also expensive. And one of the worst things is the plastic vacuum hoses. They tend to crack over time, and you literally have to remove the engine to access those cracked plastic vacuum hoses, and this costs an absolute fortune. And something to keep in mind, you know, these early generation cars, they came with that W12 twin turbo engine. It's an amazing engine, very powerful. I get it. You're going to run into issues like this with the plastic vacuum hoses cracking. You're going to run into turbo issues. That's always going to be expensive. And in '06, they did kind of reroute these plastic vacuum hoses, but it still doesn't really help the issue. It's still a very expensive thing to fix, and something that continues to go wrong with these products. And checking the coolant in this car is a good idea as well, because apparently the radiator tends to shed some of its metal and it ends up as debris that's just floating around in the coolant area. That causes all kinds of engine issues as well with these Bentley Continentals. You got to make sure that the coolant looks nice and clean with no problems. And most of this information, okay, you can find this at car channels like Different Car Review and Scottish Car Clan. Okay, both of these individuals, they have made some great Bentley buyer's guide videos, so if you just want to learn some of those issues there, they do a good job in covering it. And what I just gave you is a quick rundown from what those two gentlemen mentioned in their videos. But I'm going to take it a step further and give you another resource that you can use. You come here and you can type in the 2003 Bentley Continental. That was the first model year in the United States. You can scroll down and go to manufacturer communications. This will also be known as TSBs, or technical service bulletins. These are all of the issues that the manufacturer themselves is going to find with their own products. And a lot of what we just discussed here is going to show up in this area, but it's nice and organized for you to look through. And when you look up an '03 Continental, we have 25 manufacturer communications. Now, I will say there is some redundancy here and some minor things being noted, you know, between the manufacturer and the dealerships, like you know, them having to change the wording on a service manual or something. You know, it can be small things like that as well, but for the most part, this is still a great resource for you to look through. And one of the first things that pops up is the poor engine running complaints, misfires with the engine. Well, part of the reason for that misfire, as we already talked about, is the cracked plastic vacuum hoses in the engine. But I will say this resource, it's better for slightly newer cars. You know, the more you go back into the archives, like an '03 car, there's going to be less information. When you type in like 2008 Bentley Continental, you can now see that the number has jumped up to 85 manufacturer communications. And fast forward, 2012 is when Bentley sort of refreshed the vehicle. We typed that into NHTSA. We have 196 manufacturer communications. And you can look through this. A lot of this is electronically related. You got some engine issues, steering, brakes. I mean, just a whole myriad of things where if you don't have a warranty, you are completely SOL with not just this car, but with literally any flagship luxury car like a Mercedes S-Class, a 7 Series, or even a Lexus LS. You know, an LS 460 Lexus is going to have all of these steering and suspension issues that you're going to have to take care of, and this stuff costs thousands of dollars. But I will say 2012 and up, those are some of the best model years. I'll talk about why later, but it is a little bit refreshed here, and along with that refresh, we have better handling, more comfort, and power upgrades as well. And we come all the way up to the 2017 Continental. We have 131 manufacturer communications. My job is not to go through and list all of these things with you. The purpose of this illustration is to show you if you do not have a warranty, you are on the hook for literally 100+ issues that can go wrong. So cars like this, it is not a blessing to people who are just scraping by, you know, and they're just trying to flex, and they see these cars going for 30 grand on Car Gurus, and they think that they can snag this at a $600 or $700 payment and think that they can float that. You're going to get a very clapped out vehicle, because as you can see, the older the car gets, the more of these issues are going to compile, and people just aren't going to fix any of these things. And that's how you end up with clapped out cars, people neglecting these various TSBs shown on this website, because again, it costs tens of thousands of dollars, literally. You have the Bentley tax. Every single component is just marked up 10, 20 times over what a regular car would typically cost. And there's more of these components and more of a chance for these components to go wrong. So I never understood why people would pursue these cars without a warranty. It just never made any sense to me. The next thing I want to show you is actually Bentley's own website. I really like the fact that they have laid out a lot of great information on some of their heritage products, like this older Continental GT. Okay, I wanted to share with you Bentley's own website because they actually have a lot of great information where it's not just for buying purposes, but just for the regular Bentley enthusiast. They can come to this website, click on models, and then we can scroll down to past models and select, well, any one of these older products, and they have a ton of information on these older vehicles. So if you want to learn some interesting facts about this car, you can definitely go through this. They have both generations here, the first one from 03 to 2010. You can scroll through this. They'll show you all the various models, like the Continental Super Sports, the GT, the GT Speed. So if you want to learn more about these vehicles, you can definitely read into it, learn some interesting facts. Scroll over, you can learn more about the refresh models from 2010 to 2018. It's really 2012, I feel like. That's when they rolled out the refreshed Continentals. And these are typically going to be your better Bentley products to look into, because the 08 Continental I drove, honestly, it was nothing special. If I'm going to be honest with you, you know what that 08 Continental drove like? It drove identical to the 2018 Genesis G80. And I'm not trying to be funny or cute or facetious about that. It's literally the truth. And I bring this up because a lot of people, they put cars like this on a pedestal and they think it's going to be some crazy esoteric driving experience, but the reality is it's not that far off from a Genesis, a Lexus, or a Mercedes S-Class. In fact, I would say something like a 2014 to 2020 S-Class drives better than the 08 Continental I tested. Heck, even the 2012 Rolls-Royce Ghost that I tested wasn't all that great either. An S-Class Mercedes honestly drove better than one of those early model Ghosts as well. A lot of people, they think that this is some unbelievable driving experience, and I'm sure the 2012s and up are better, but in reality, if you just want a great driving experience, you can get it for a lot less money and with a much newer product. And again, I'll save that more towards the end of this video, but I guess one of the big highlights with this car, it's going to be that W12 engine. Many people want to experience that, and yes, it is a phenomenal engine. It is very quick, very smooth, but I really don't think the engine is worth the headaches. But mainly, I just wanted to let you know Bentley's own website is a great resource for you to check out to learn some interesting facts. Now let's move on and let's talk about the Bentley buying market and pricing. Okay, we're on Car Gurus right now. When you filter out the clapped out cars, like the accident vehicles, the salvage title, the lemon cars, etc., you're left with around 300 cars in the entire United States. And the reason why you want to filter out those vehicles is because cars that are in an accident or they're salvage titled, they're going to be worth less when you go to trade them in. And not just that, when a car has been in an accident and it's been fixed by some body shop, you have no idea how that body shop put that car back together. It's never going to be back to that OEM spec. So that can also cause more issues down the road. But a lot of these cheaper Bentleys, they tend to be the 03 to 05 models, because 06s and up, they're going to command a slightly higher price tag since it's got a little bit less issues. But make no mistake, these cars are going to be a terrible investment for you. I say this not because I don't want you to have a nice time or to drive nice cars. It's quite the opposite. I want you to have a great driving experience. I just don't want this to financially ruin the wrong people who are going to be looking into this, because they come to a payment calculator and they look up the pricing for a $35,000 Bentley, and CarGurus shows that it's going to be like a $700 payment. And that's assuming you have perfect credit. Most people looking into this probably don't. And now, the interest rate is going to be ramped up and it's going to be over $900. But the other thing you want to keep in mind is most banks won't even finance these cars. It's too old, first of all. And if you do happen to find a lender, they're going to charge ridiculous interest rates. That's just the reality of post-pandemic used car buying. It just does not make sense to buy a used vehicle anymore unless you're paying cash. But the other sad thing is these prices are overinflated. Pre-pandemic, these cars were going for the same price. But pre-pandemic, that was 3 years ago. So that means all of these cars we're looking at were 3 years newer. So now they're older and we're still paying the same price. So that's not cool. I guess you could argue these vehicles are at the end of their depreciation curve, but the older and more clapped out they are, the more the issues start to compile and compound. I mean, the car literally totals itself with the amount of repairs that can potentially go wrong with it, So yes, it's a cool car. Yes, it's very baller, but that's literally it. It's just vanity. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth showing off in front of people that don't even like you, because when you try to impress others, all you do is depress yourself. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for this stuff. But how can you make a used Bentley work? Like if you have a dream of owning a Bentley product, how can you make it work without shelling out $300,000 for a brand new one? Well, you could look into a certified pre-owned Bentley. You can filter by CPO on CarGurus, and now this is going to be something I can recommend to people. I still wouldn't do it, and I'll talk more about why later, but if you have a dream of owning a Bentley, this is the way to do it. You buy the thing certified pre-owned, that way you know that it was looked over. Typically a car has to pass a certain test from the manufacturer for it to be certified in the first place, so you know you're getting a decent car. And when you search by the lowest price CPO car, it's going for around $92,000 to $98,000. Let's check out this yellow one here. This is a 2015 model year. That's pretty great. It's going to have better driving dynamics, better comfort, refinement, etc. And also with the refresh models, you're going to also get the opportunity of buying the V8 models. But the V8 Continental, it's still no Toyota Land Cruiser by any means. So the same issues, for the most part, are still going to apply. But if you want this car so badly, this is pretty much the only way to do it. And this car can make sense to some people. Like if you're a realtor or something, consider looking into like a Bentayga. If you're a realtor, I mean, your car is pretty much your rolling business card. Not just that, when you buy a car like a Bentley, you're buying into one of the exotic car brands, right? So now you're a part of a exotic club, and now you get to mingle and talk to other people in the Bentley clubs in certain events, and now you can build up your clientele that way. You can network when you own one of these cars. So I'm not saying it's completely useless, like you shouldn't go after a car like this. You have to have some proper and good business purpose when you go after a vehicle like this. And I get it, we have jumped radically from the $30,000 Bentleys all the way up to these CPO cars, but trust me, if you're going to do this, getting it certified like this is the smartest way to go. Payments are going to be around $2,000 a month, but it is what it is. You have to be rich in order to afford one of these cars. But what exactly do you get with the CPO Bentley? Well, you only get a 1-year warranty with these cars. It's an unlimited mileage warranty with no deductibles, but it is only for 1 year. You get your Bentley driving experience and then you dump it after a year, or you can extend that warranty, and the price for extending that, it varies. Everyone's got something different to say on the internet and on the forums. Some people were saying that it's going to cost $6,000 to extend it for another year, and maybe $10,000 to extend it for 2 years. And that sounds very expensive, but that is the reality of insuring or warrantying one of these cars. Actually, insurance is a totally different topic, because insuring cars like this, that's another reason why I don't really recommend this to normal people, because insurance will be a fortune on these exotic cars. In fact, some people might not even insure exotic cars. You might have to get a completely different insurance policy. That's mainly because body components on these cars, they cost a ton of money, like a hood, a fender, the wheels, etc. I mean, everything is just ultra inflated. So getting insurance is hard. These warranties, they cost a fortune. And some individual on this forum, they are talking about a company called Axiom. I've never heard of them, but they charge like a $300 inspection, and the warranty costs around $4,800 for 2 years, and it's got a $1,000 deductible apparently. And all of these numbers, they change. Like, everyone's got a different number that they're throwing out, but all of this gives you a good ballpark idea of what the warranty cost on a Bentley is going to be. But let's backtrack a little bit here. When you buy a CPO Bentley, you can finance through Bentley Financial. When you do that, I think you can get some slightly better interest rates. Interest rates are just super high right now, but that is something to consider with the CPO car, along with something I've heard in the forums before. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, because I'm not 100% sure about this, but I've heard Bentley Financial, they don't report to your credit. Obviously, they'll report if you don't make a payment on the car, but if you have perfect credit, initially they'll just do an inquiry of your credit just to see your score and your history. But after that, it doesn't show up as if you've purchased the car. So it's not going to affect your debt to income ratio, so you can still go out and qualify for like a mortgage or something. I believe that's the case with Bentley Financial. I know that's the case with Ferrari Financial, but comment below, let me know if that's also the case for Bentley Financial as well. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover here. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the conclusion segment. Okay, now that you've seen the multitude of issues that can potentially go wrong with this car and everything that you're going to be on the hook for, this is not a joke. This is not funny. The wrong person goes out and they buy this car, they are absolutely SOL. You're still going to have to be rich. It's just throwaway money for them. They can blow 30, 40, 50, 70 grand on one of these older cars, and they can watch that money burn, and it does not affect them. Typically people with a $3 million net worth and above. That way, this car is only 1% of their world, if that makes sense. So they can watch the money burn. It's not a problem. But for most people that are interested in these cars, I really don't think that's the case. So I don't want the wrong people to fall for this trap. Yes, it's an amazing looking car. Yes, the engine is phenomenal, but it's almost all of this is just vanity, okay? You can get a very similar experience for a lot less money. Actually, you can get a better experience and a newer experience. And what are those cars? Well, I'll give you a few examples in different price ranges. If you're one of those people looking for a $30,000 Continental, really consider moving that budget up to $50,000 and just buying a new Lexus ES350. Okay, that car is going to be brand new. It's literally going to ride better than the '08 Continental that I tested. It's not going to be clapped out. It's not going to have electronic gremlins and random things going wrong with it. No, it's literally brand new. It's quiet. It's comfortable. It still looks great. It's still prestigious. And because it's a new car, financing is going to be much cheaper. So even though it's 20 grand more than the cheapest Continental, financing is going to be better. And also you can look into leasing it as well. But I get it. People looking for a Bentley, they want that foreign car experience. The next truly best option for you is going to be a Mercedes S-Class Coupe from 2015 to 2020. You can even pick up certified pre-owned ones between $50,000 to $70,000. This is going to be a much newer vehicle, and it's going to drive better in literally every way. And we have that ultra powerful twin turbo V8 in this car. It's honestly smoother and faster than the Continental W12 I tested in the '08 model. Again, 2012s and up might be better, but I still think this S-Class Coupe is going to be the way to go. Okay, you got that big body looks, you got the prestige of a Benz, and you can even look into buying the S63 or even the S65 AMGs. And not to mention, financing on one of these cars, it's going to be much easier because it's a newer car. Warranties are going to be more easily accessible as well. You're covered, and you're driving around in a much newer product. Okay, and some alternatives for a CPO Bentley, those are around 100 grand. You can honestly get a brand new LC500 Lexus, which has one of the most exquisite interiors and one of the most unique driving experiences out on the road today. It's one of my most favorite cars. Again, just give it a chance. The LC500 is ultra special. But also for 100K, you know, if you despise Lexus, you can also look into the base model Porsche 911s. Now, granted, getting a allocation for a new Porsche is almost impossible, but if you can get one, honestly, that's a better purchase than a CPO Bentley. And actually, Porsche in general, all of their products, you can look into the CPO versions of Porsches as well. You can find really clean ones, you know, Panameras, 911s, things of that nature, or even the Cayennes. Porsche is a great, prestigious brand. You know, you can buy into that. The other thing, the reason why I mentioned Lexus, Porsche, and Mercedes, you have more of their dealerships available to you. So you have better customer support. You can get access to parts more easily. Insurance is going to be a lot less on some of these vehicles that I'm talking to you about, unlike the esoteric Bentleys. Genesis, either certified pre-owned or brand new, they have some really great vehicles out right now. And honestly, they have that Bentley vibe to them. So I urge you to check these cars out, and hopefully you can understand and respect my perspective on this. I'm really trying to save the wrong people from getting into a world of headaches. If you're rich, continue to enjoy these Rollses and these Bentleys because you're rich. It doesn't matter what happens to your money. You have enough to blow it. Okay, you can buy a 30 grand, a 70 grand, a 100 grand, a $300,000 Bentley. It doesn't matter. All of those numbers are the same thing to you. Okay, you can proceed to do whatever you want, and maybe you have a great story to tell. You've had an older Bentley and nothing has ever gone wrong with it. I believe it. Great, but let's not force the wrong people into buying this. And make sure to use the resources I talked about. Okay, NHTSA.gov shows you all of the issues with the car. Use the forums. Bentley's own website is a great resource to look at interesting facts. Come to Car Gurus to see if the vehicle is a good deal or not. Consider going to Edmunds.com. I really like the way they filter out the various model years, and it shows you what's new for each model year. They do a good job of that, and they show you some pros and cons as well. But this is my full 2003 to 2018 Bentley Continental GT buyer's guide video. If you found this valuable, consider liking and subscribing. You can also check out some of my merch down in the description box. But thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.